The sun is over there on the horizon, just coming up through the corners of the houses and trees. I snuck out here at 0600 hours and started the kiln. I got it warmed up and started last night. Ran it for half an hour just to kind of warm it up. It's been running for an hour now, and it's around 500 degrees. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. The pyrometer. What does the pyrometer say? 400 degrees, 450. Just letting it run on gas, propane at the moment. I've got my work cut out for me. Mixed fuel firing, as I call it. Wood and gas with a blower. And a propane bottle. I got plenty of gas coming from the house, also natural gas, but I really just need the gas and the propane in the blower for flow through the kiln. And then I'm going to put wood in there. I have the damper about halfway. Beautiful frosty 12/12/2017. Quiet morning. The garden is what I call the fall garden. The frost has knocked off all of the greens, and there's some onions sticking up there and some kale still, but that's about it. Nice pile of wood out there. I'll be chopping and splitting and feeding the kiln today. That's my job. Ah, the sun is a little further up, and the distant roar of the kiln and the flame just came out. It's 8 o'clock, hourly check. I can actually hear this from inside. I call it a fat flame. It's not a rocket sound, it's just beyond the rocket sound, so if I adjust the flame, I can hear it different wise. So I have the thermocouple in the mid section of the body of the kiln. Temperature is just a little bit higher, which is fine, nice and slow, closer to 500. Temperature in the mid section of the kiln is not in the direct flame path along the body, whereas if I have it over here on the flame path, more in the flame path, I got a little connector right there, little place I put it in right there. That location's like 1,000 degrees by now, but it's I'm gonna start sticking a few pieces of wood in here and building up the BTUs and seeing what it does. I'll get the little tripod out and shoot a couple of pictures as I'm doing this today. Kind of fun. put the first couple pieces of wood in there 15 minutes ago or so, and you can smell the smoke and as it comes out of little corners and cracks of the kiln. I just really like the way the sunset behind it and reflecting off of the smoke as the sunlight comes through the trees over here on the left. And put a piece of wood in there and you can really smell the freshness of it and the beauty of it. Still chippy outside, a little cool, and my breath is frosty. Absolutely beautiful. Time is now about 8:15, 8:30. This buddy of mine named Will said he had some bees in Montana, and he wanted to. We talked about bees and all that bees are, and he said he had some old honey that he was giving away, kind of like for Christmas stuff, and asked me if I wanted any. And I, having hives in the past, I thought, well, sure, man. And he told me that honey was good. I was like, really? I'd love to see some, man. He told me it was deep and dark and brown, and that's a little bit on a piece of bread with peanut butter. But talk about honey that's this dark and rich, collected in, what was it, 1986, from some hives he had back there. I've already had one piece, so I can't use the camera and get my fingers all messy, so I have to just let you trust me. It really is good. A big thumbs up to Will. Can't say enough about it. It's like a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, one taste of that honey, then you'll know what I mean. It's like nothing else you'll ever see. I gotta cut up some more wood and chop a little bit and continue at this firing. Not really happy with the quality of my picture. It looks like my lens still has some stuff on it. I just tried to clean it up with a cotton swab and some alcohol, but still got a great big chunk of something in there, on there, and now some smears from the alcohol. Seems like it's going from bad to worse. Temperature's around 750. Time is approximately 9:30. Kiln firing is going really well. All he needs a little more wood. It's smoking it pretty quick. It's getting pretty hot in there. Temperature's right at 900 degrees, which is really good. Good and hot. I put that brace on the front of the kiln again, because this is like a double layer of brick, like a wall, and it moves an awful lot when it gets so hot on the inside. So that double V acts like a brace against the wall with some bricks in there to keep it stable. Let me check the wood situation. Still really pretty nice in there. Good wood. I'm definitely going to have to get out my hot gloves. My welding gloves and such. Get these leaves out of here. I'll have a little fire down here. Clean up that, do a little maintenance. I love the sound of the leaves as I walk around. That's kind of neat. Shuffle through them. I definitely have to get my hot gloves out. Looking at the temperature here, a little over 900. Got a brick underneath the leaves there and didn't see it. Time's getting pretty close to 12 o'clock. Temperature's up upwards of 1,000 degrees. This is a mid-body temperature instead of a flame path temperature, meaning the kiln body itself is getting up temperature-wise pretty good. I'm going to have to start wearing a face shield because it gets hot right here. It's really hot. I can just promise you. Take my word for it if you want or not. But it's getting hot. Got to cut some more wood. That's about the size of it. I might be able to get that piece in there, but I'll probably split it one more time. Oh, I just haven't split wood in a long time. Definitely got to get that deflector shield helmet. So I'll be wearing a wig. $1,100 degrees. I really like that it has some back pressure there. I'm going to pull the damper out just a little bit to see the effect. I've got it in at about 75%, so if I pull it out just a little bit, that will affect the amount of air pressure in the kiln. See if it changes how much pressure is there, and that's obviously different or better now. Not quite so hard. coming out there, flowing through the kiln better. More fires looking for air. It's got a good flow through it. Kind of equalizes a little bit. So I'm at halfway, back to maybe a 2/3, and temperature's a little over 1100, 1150. Time is now about 12 o'clock. It looks like I changed the damper and effectively changed the temperature inside, dropped down by about 100 degrees from 1100 to 1000. That's alright. It's building up temperature inside the kiln. Currently have the damper set at about 1/3. So I'll drop it back down to 1/4. I can see the bottle is frosty, but I still have plenty of propane. Wow. Totally consumed. "15 minutes later, and a fresh stoke of wood, a little adjustment of the damper, and we're well over 1100. We're at 1150. Good photographer never has a shadow in the picture. I've heard that somewhere before. Need to be catching and checking this kiln every half hour, for the wood consumption is pretty high. I can still see some fire in there, but half an hour later it just ain't as big as I want it to be. Much more comfortable with the helmet and the shield as far as getting close to it and putting wood in it. Temperature. Temperature is right around upwards of 2,000, 12,000, 1,200 I should say. 1,200, getting closer. The shadow is starting to get long. It's only 1:30 in the afternoon, almost 2 o'clock. Trying to pay a little bit closer attention to this thing. There's still good flame around it, but I can see how much wood's consumed. I really want to keep this fire going really strong and get it to go on up. We're well past inversion, and get her done. I really like shots that show progress. 1350. Time is now about 2 o'clock. The afternoon is setting on. The day is going on. The day is changing. The temperature and the shadows are getting long. It's time to go. Time to go. Let's see what we got here. About 2:45. 2:45 was the time I looked at the clock. Woo! Getting hot. Definitely. how quickly the shadows do pass. 1400. Still a little frosty on the tank, but lots of fuel. Still at 3/4 closed, 1/4 open. These guys are my ports for the cones right there in the front, and I've got a couple on the back, but I haven't opened them up. I know I'm nowhere near close to a cone going down. Seems like 20 minutes, 30 minutes is just not often enough. Flame's going good. Just not big enough. Temperature? Still around 1400, but it's a solid 1400. Almost 15. Good progress. Time's about 3:30. More wood. Fire. More wood. And fire. And fire. And fire. And fire. Got to trim up a couple of pieces of wood here. sweetheart. I feel like I'm getting better at the size that's required. Whether or not it's too big or too fat. And a little more confidence with the hedge, with the sledgehammer. Definitely over 1500. Well above 1500, which is fantastic. Continuing to climb at a steady rate. Woo. It's going to get spectacular as the night comes on. I'm definitely a lot more comfortable with this helmet on. Talk about hot and flame. Woo! And fuel. Time is now about 4:15. We're well over 1500. Continuing to see climb there. More wood and fire. That's what it's calling for. More wood and fire. All the smoke subsides, and I'm keeping an eye on it from down inside. Boy, do I ever notice the heat when I have that shield up. Boy, oh boy, did I ever notice that heat. It kind of caught underneath the shield there and caught my face. Woo! I cut and chopped a few more pieces of wood, keeping the fire going. I'm impressed with how little, respectively, considering how little wood is required, augmenting the firing with gas. Remind me to put my shield down this time, alright? Thank you. Pulled the damper out just a little bit. Been cycling between 1/3 and 1/4 of an opening. So I just took it from 1/4 to 1/3 actually. Gave it a little bit more space so that the flow through the kiln, the amount of fuel that's being burnt in the kiln versus the fuel that's escaping. And it is going up the stack a little bit. Nice little bit of dark smoke, but still got good air pressure in the kiln as the flame looks for fire, looks for oxygen. So solid firing, continuing to get temperature to rise. Looking at the temperature. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It is beautiful. Oh my. My. You gotta see this. Can you see that? It's gotta be like 4:30, 4:35. Can't be 5 o'clock yet. It's at 1600. Loving it, loving it, loving it. I'd be dancing pirouettes. It's beaut. Checking on the fire and flame. It's about 4:35, 4:45. 4:35, 4:45, somewhere in there. Building up good temperature in the kiln body. Had to make a couple of phone calls and answer a customer question. I'd moved the shelf out to 1/3 and moved it back into 1/4. Causes the fire and the wood to burn a little faster. So I'm adding some more wood. And I moved the damper back into 1/4. talk about hot. It only gets hotter from here. Woo. Yowza. There's plenty of wood in there. That small change in the damper really makes a difference in the firing and the travel of fire and oxygen through the kiln. I'm going to move it out just a little bit and let it settle down and see what happens. Really just moved it out just a little bit, but I'm sure I'll continue to see it reach out like this to get more air, more oxygen. I'm at about a third, so I pulled it out a little bit and gave it a little bit more exhaust, allowing a little more air to go through the kiln. That much pressure inside the kiln, fuel, demand for oxygen, tells me that we should be seeing some flame going up the chimney, or if not already, pretty soon. It's really pushing it. And I haven't seen any yet, but here in the tank freeze up, and just turned off the tank. That's interesting. Switching to natural gas. Opened up the propane a little bit more as fuel burned off, and I have the damper in at 3/4, and I have both natural gas and propane on. Turned it up to where I saw the black smoke coming off the kiln, and then backed it down, so I really just want to keep pressure on the kiln. If I could keep it just like that the whole time, that would be beautiful. Kiln's really turning on and going well overall. I saw a little fluctuation in the temperature around the edges and such. The color is beautiful. Little corner there. Sun is starting to set, so we'll see more fire through the cracks of the bricks. That's actually 2 layers of bricks there, so the inside layer is fire red and the outside layer is just about cool to the touch. It's amazing. Pyrometer 1550. 1550. It went down a little bit. It was up over 1600 a little bit earlier, but I'm going to stick some more wood in it and see what happens. One of my gloves has a hole in it, so I'm double gloving it. Whew. It's getting dark. Darker outside. I'll have to get a flashlight here soon. Still at 1550. Woo! Throwing a little salt and ash. For dramatic effect. Temperatures around 1550, 1600. The natural gas is what's really changed the character of the firing. might turn up the propane a little bit. Definitely hear the salt and the treatment of the salt on the pottery is really what I'm after. So I love to hear that salt popping in there. Temperature seems to be hovering around 1550. I'd like for it to be going on up, but maybe I shouldn't be impatient. The biggest change has been the switch from propane to natural gas, and I turned the propane up a little bit even after the last adjustment. And the damper is set at 75%, so it should be pumping. But I'm not seeing the pressure in the kiln like I was before. I definitely have enough fuel in the thing. Kiln temperature. Still around 1550. Making the application of salt involves a little bit of water, but it's not bad. Love the crackle of the salt in the kiln. Feed me! Feed me! Temperature's around 1600, which is nice to see. And good flame coming out of the base there. Good pressure inside the kiln, which is really important in how the fuel is going around the kiln. It's good atmospheric pressure, good pressure within the kiln. Woo! 1600 degrees. I got a couple of holes in a couple of gloves, and they're both on the same finger. I thought that was funny. But it ain't funny when your finger touches something hot. Anyway. See if I can get some new gloves the next time I come around to do this. I even think I want to see this on video. Woo! Catch of that fire coming out of there. Look at that. This is the most romantic, fantastic parts of the firing. As the evening wears on, it's probably about 6 o'clock. That's the front of the kiln. That's the port where I'm putting the wood in. You can see it with the lights on better. But with the lights on, you can't see all the little nuances of flame and fuel that's burning throughout the kiln. So I'm going to do a little walk around without the light. The pressure inside the kiln is starting to show flame coming out the back and up the chimney. That's up the chimney there. I have the opening in the chimney about a quarter of the way open, 25%. This is the back of the kiln. All the little spots and places where the kiln's just breathing as best it can. I'm not looking for any cones to go down yet. The camera's trying to figure out focus, of course, as it goes. From one space to the next. As there are little cracks here and there around the edges that the camera tries to see. You can see its focus varying as it tries to figure it out and find it. But the flame coming out the port is just spectacular. A lot of pressure within the kiln. Flame means it's really looking for oxygen everywhere it can. Great reduction, interaction of the chinos, salt. It's a beautiful thing. Temperature is about 1650. Flames going up the chimney. Air pressure through the kiln. Good flow through the kiln. Really very happy with that. Put some more wood in it. Have to be really careful with this one finger that's burned out of the glove now. Oh, that's 2 fingers that are burned out of the glove now. Talk about fire coming out of every corner. The pressure in it's really pretty high. I love the idea that it's coming out the top like that. Do a little walk around to see what it looks like on the back side. It was sealed and built up entirely different. You can see a little bit of flame coming out the bottom there and around the edges. I've got a welding blanket over the top of it, so it's pretty well insulated. But since the front of it's built up, that's the flame going up the chimney. That's the fire in the bottom going in. So we're getting good circulation through the body of the kiln. Definitely got to fix those gloves. Almost 1700 degrees. Good fuel, gas, fire, pressure. I wanted to check the cones and put a little more wood in it. Not necessarily in that order, but I definitely need to get a second glove on that hand that is coming apart. Man, I gotta replace this glove. I have definitely got to replace this glove. It's history. This one's just about gone. I got a hole in it too. trying to throw some wood across the whole back side of that thing in the flame path. I expect the flame to come back here as it vaporizes the water. There it is. As it vaporizes the water on that salt. Woo! Yeah. Talk about hot. Couple of big pieces of wood and a couple of scoops of salt. Oh my! I'm gonna have to check the cones. I know it's getting close. The mid-body temperature is going to be a lot different than the bottom temperatures and the front temperature, so this is good. 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 Really, really good. Just checked all the cones and trying to figure out where the temperature of the kiln is. Beautiful interactive flame throughout the body of the kiln. I'd like to put a little more wood in it, so I'm going to check it one more time and check the temperature. Temperature is around 1650 on the pyrometer, which is a mid-body temperature. I still need to get it up to about 2000, so I've got about 5 more hours. It's 4 more hours, I should say. It's about 6:30, so getting it to 2200. Starting to see the cones fall. Cones I have are 5, 7, 8, 10. So starting to see those guys move would be what I want. But it ain't there yet. It's getting there, but it ain't there yet. that salt as it pops. Well over 1600 degrees. Salt vaporizes at 1200. I could treat this baby all night long to the good stuff. You better believe it. Yeah. And then it gets really hot. The flame comes out more. And it wants more. And it wants more, and it's hotter. And it's more. You can see it building. You can see it building here. Coming out. Reaching for more. It wants more. Here. You can see the color changing. Building. And building. And then it'll burst forth. It's too much fun. You can see the flame coming out of every crevice. It may seem small there. It's funny that I can get a distant street light way over there. And somebody's Christmas tree lights across the way. As the camera tries to focus and figure out what it is that it's looking at. The outside layer of soft brick is cool to the touch, but the inside layer of hard brick is fire red. It's over 1700 degrees and it's about 7 o'clock. When I just checked it a moment ago, it didn't seem like I'd been inside that long, and the fire, the wood had just almost completely burned off. It's like amazing to me. So got to really stoke it some good. I seem to be stuck around 1700 degrees. Been that way for an hour. It's 9 o'clock. I only have till 10 o'clock before I have to shut her down. So I'm kind of just waiting. I opened up the exhaust to see if I could promote faster fuel burning, and let me see what happens in the next hour to see if that's the trick. Trying to get it out of a stalled state and get it up to temperature. Couldn't find any cones that were moving, so we haven't made it to cone 5 yet. 9 o'clock. So why is it stalling out at 1700? When I opened up the stack all the way, it started to lose temperature. But I can't seem to get it above 1700 very far. Now it's right at 1700. It's been like that for an hour-ish. It's like 9:30. Why is it stalled out at 1700? It's beautiful. Ghostly. Plenty of fuel. When you look in the ports at the cones, you can see, maybe not with the camera, got plenty of fuel firing, but the cones are not moving. That's on the upper level. This is on the lower level. Less fuel, but plenty hot. Beautiful work. If I open up the flue, it seems to lose temperature. Got lots of juice and lots of power, but no, it's not going to make it by 10 o'clock.